Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. The first session, in fact the whole morning is a New Street Authors Morning, and we're going to start with a look at a book that's just about to come out called Punk Publishing by Andy Conway on my far left and David Wake. I'm going to just start by handing over to you and asking you why Punk Publishing?
Okay, why Punk Publishing? I think it emerged from, this book emerged from a little text document that I used to send to writers who'd asked me how do I go about publishing my own book. Because 6 years ago, I kind of launched into the self-publishing world and put out 11 titles in 11 months. It's kind of like a bet. And so it was a crazy year.
What happened to the 12th?
Well, no, I kind of had 10 titles to put out, and but it was 2011, and I thought, what if I put out 11 for this year? And then she said, what if I put out 11 by November of this year?
Okay.
So it was a really, really crazy schedule, but what I wanted to do was kind of get a footprint on Amazon and kind of put out all my backlist, basically. So I did this, and many people gave me reasons for why I shouldn't self-publish. We've listed them in our book, 15 stupid reasons why self-publishing is wrong. And there's a whole chapter on it. So we talk about all of those reasons, all the things that people said to me, and all of those people who said those things to me then came back a year later and said to me, so how can I publish like you published? So I used to send them this text document. Here's the kind of nitty-gritty of how to turn your Word document, your novel, into an ebook, even into a paperback book, and publish it yourself. And it kind of grew from there, really. It grew and grew and grew, and I thought maybe this should be a book. And then I discussed it a lot with David as well.
I'll jump in here.
Go on.
I was on the MA in creative writing, and Andy was my final project tutor. I was giving him lifts home, and he was trying to persuade me that independent publishing was the way to go, and I was doing all the usual excuses. Oh, traditional publishing is the only route, that kind of thing. And he sort of gradually wore me away. I never saw this text document. But
What were the main arguments he made why traditional publishing had, in one sense, had its day?
I think you just automatically, reflexively had that knee-jerk reaction of, oh, it's vanity publishing. But once you'd got a Kindle, and once you'd seen what was out there, and that authors were publishing their own books quite easily, and not only just publishing them, but selling them and gaining an audience.
Yeah, I think so.
It started to make sense.
At science fiction conventions, every year I would religiously go to the How to Get Published panel and listen to what the people were saying. And it was just, you never even questioned it. And then once you discovered that there was an independent publishing route, suddenly the kind of rose-tinted glasses fell off, and you saw traditional publishers for what they are, and decided that they were unprofessional.
As we go along, by the way, are you happy to take questions from
Sure,
the audience? So if anybody's got a question, literally just shout it out. The book is what exactly does the book do? You tell them, not me. Mm-hmm. What does the book do for somebody reading it, somebody who's interested in indie publishing, interested in getting their book out?
The book is really in two parts. There's an argument.
There's a rant in there.
Why? There's a what?
There's a rant in there.
Yes, I was trying to use a word other than rant. But there's a huge pile of vitriol towards traditional publishing in the rant. No, arguments as to why one should do it, why traditional publishing is disappearing and independent publishing is taking over. And then the second half is a sort of guide to how you go about it, which buttons you press, which websites you go to, how, the nitty-gritty of doing it.
I was very struck when I proofread it by the fact that the second half of the book in particular, and I've been indie publishing for 4 years now, but there were things in there that I didn't know, so I'd certainly think there's some, even if you think you know it, it's worth casting your eye over punk publishing. But I was particularly, maybe the rant about vanity publishing and who owns the companies that are soaking authors for large sums of money to get their books out, really made me smile that was the big publishers. And I didn't know that either.
I think, I mean, you started this off by saying, by asking why punk publishing, and we didn't answer that question. And I think this is...
I noticed.
This is why. It's a large part of the book is about getting across to people that you can publish your own book for either free or the cost of a bootleg copy or an original pressing of the Sex Pistols, Never Mind the Bollocks. And you do not need to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds publishing your ebook. And many, many people out there now are telling you that that's what you need to do to publish your book. And they're vanity publishers, basically. And what they've seen is that the self-publishing industry has taken off so massively and so hugely that they now want a cut of that action. And so it's within their interest to persuade all you good people here that in order to get your book out...
It's complicated, it's difficult.
So why punk? It's like a punk making a punk record or writing a punk song. It's 3 chords, it's really, really simple, and you can kind of bash it out there incredibly easily. And there's a kind of DIY ethic to it, and that's why it's called punk publishing.
That sounds like a very reasonable title. Are you taking the 3-chord punk analogy right the way through the book?
Absolutely. Every chapter is kind of broken down into 3 lessons or 3 points, and those are our 3 chords. It's based on the famous... there's a famous graphic from one of the early punk fanzines that was, here is a chord, here's another chord, here's a 3rd chord, now go form a band. That's how easy it is.
See, Lou Reed doesn't agree with that because he said it's 1 chord good, 2 chords better, 3 chords that's jazz.
He's totally wrong. There's a simplicity to it, and a kind of... We were kind of really beguiled by the whole DIY ethic, because I've done that punk thing in every other kind of artistic sphere, in bands, obviously.
Sure,
well, there was no question about, we're a band, we go and record our own stuff and we'll put it out on our own label, and nobody ever questioned that. Nobody ever said your music has no validity unless it's chosen
Virgin or CBS,
by some guy in a suit.
I don't think that was always the case, though. The punk movement broke that mould, didn't it?
Yeah,
so I suppose that's why we've gone for punk publishing, is that independent publishing is breaking the mould. You don't need to go to traditional publishers. You can just do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. There's a myth that's going around that unfortunately has got a lot of currency, which is that independent publishing has already peaked, and in particular the ebooks have peaked.
Yeah.
And I picked up, I think it was The Guardian during the course of the week, there was an interview with an author who should know better, who kept repeating this lie: Kindle sales are falling. Not realising that the truth is that, yes, sales of Kindle e-readers...
I'm going to jump in because I've got the graph.
Deal with it. Excellent. Oh, you've got some data.
I've got the graph. This is the graph that everybody's referring to. Okay, that's ebook sales, and you can see it's going down, don't you? And this is the data that everybody's using to say Kindle sales plateaued, they're collapsing, ebooks are going down, it was a flash in the pan, it's done, it's over with. And this graph that everybody's using is a lie. Because it's really, let's get these the right way around, more like this. So you've got your ebook sales dropping, and then you've got some sort of flat lines going on. This blue line, half of that blue line, is J.K. Rowling's audiobooks. That's how significant she is. But there's a whole bunch of small presses and independent publishing with nothing's happening. So they're still saying ebooks are falling down. They're going down. But that is only what the traditional publishers are doing. That's their data. If you add...
So it's for mainstream published authors, their ebook sales.
This is what the full graph looks like. So you've got your J.K. Rowling's independent small presses. You've got your collapsing ebook market from traditional publishers.
Highly priced ebooks,
And you've got the blue line, which is independent publishing going up. And sometime in, when was it? March, we worked out, 2015, they crossed. And if you look at the sales, the total sales, ebooks and paperbacks are going up. We're actually, when the Kindle came out, people rediscovered reading, and they rediscovered reading for paperbacks as well. So the market is expanding, but your traditional publishers are losing their market share so much that their sales are going down.
And this happened because they kind of shot themselves in the foot. They so want to kind of retard the whole ebook revolution that traditional publishers decided we need to price our ebook versions above our paperback versions. So not only does that hurt their own authors, but it's dramatically hurt their own ebook sales. And then they say to us, look, ebooks are failing. Theirs are, ours are not.